What's up, y'all? It's your boy Mighty Mouse here, back with another video. Today I want to talk about my journey through the campaign, the state of the game currently, the state of how it was, and kind of the state of how it will be in the future. But first, I just like to say, if you haven't subscribed yet, which is like 99% of the people who watch my content, please hit the subscribe button. Like some videos, comment on some stuff. For the love of God, please get us out into the algorithm. We try to do a lot of good, and this full-time working daddy would like to be able to stay at home and do this full-time. That being said, let's start in chronological order. So we started off out the gate in a party, me and my buddies. Well, me and my buddy, and man was it difficult. Go outside town, the first pack of wolves, whack, 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 you're like almost dead. First hit, 80% of your HP gone. You're like trying to dodge, roll, and evade and do all this, and it was pretty difficult. And we were crashing all the time. I don't know if it was a PlayStation bug or what the deal was, but I'd go to town, I'd crash. I'd log back into the game, it would kick him, he'd crash. He'd log back into the game, it would kick. It was like the most frustrating stuff ever. Now, once we got through that in Act 1, we get to Act 2, it's a little bit different. Now, every step of the way, my gear wasn't great overall, but I got a good ring from the cemetery that gave me 2 low damage mods, and it was on an iron ring, so that's another damage mod. So basically I had 3 offensive mods, and I was lucky enough to always find good maces. My first mace that I really fell in love with rolled over like 200 damage, which at level 30 is incredible. And then the one I used for the rest of the time from like level 38 on up till now has like a little over 220 damage and 4 to melee skills and just incredibly strong hammer. Yet, in party, it still takes like 10 minutes for me to kill a boss. By myself, it's like 3 sunders and it was dead up until I got like into the latter part of Cruel. Then it started being a little bit longer of a boss fight, but it's never usually over a minute. But in party, with even just one other player, it seems to just go exponentially higher. Now they nerfed mob health a couple times now. I believe they're working on nerfing the speed of mobs, and as a warrior, it doesn't feel much different from how it did last season until I get into a party. So I don't know what that's about. It was always more difficult in a party for sure, but it's really noticeable when your gear is trash, right? Like when all you have is a good weapon and the rest of your gear is trash, and you're like, oh, I'm one shot in rares or whatever, and then all of a sudden you get into a party and it's like a 4-minute fight on a rare mob because there's one other person. It's a little weird. Now, I understand people's complaints with the speed of the mobs and the overall damage of the mobs, and that we've had our health nerfed, and we've never been more squishy, we've never had less damage. But again, as a warrior player, I feel pretty good, actually. Like, I feel like I was eating pretty good. The thing that surprised me was how much physical damage was killing me. Because I would be hit by fireballs and things of that nature, and I would be cool. And then all of a sudden there would be like a dire tusk boar would hit me twice and I would just be dead. Or sometimes even just one time and I would be dead. And I ended the campaign with almost 1600 health, maxed resistances other than chaos, and like 250 energy shield. So a total pool of about 1,800 hit points and max elemental resistances. And obviously, I have a combination of armor and energy shield on most slots, just an armor helmet. So I had decent stats. And it just felt odd that physical was like the one thing that was really messing me up. Now, as for the damage side of things, I felt pretty good, but I don't know. I noticed a few discrepancies. Like once I got batter shout, I seen the teaser and I thought, wow, 50% of their broken armor as damage plus scaling 4% increased damage per 50 strength. That could be pretty strong, especially early game if the mobs have like 5k armor and that's like, 2500 damage. But in game it's only 20%. So that's a 2.5 times less damage than they initially stated it would do. I don't know what happened there, but whatever, nonetheless. So there's a little room to grow there, which they're doing. They're buffing certain skills. Shield wall is going to be detonatable by shouts, which is going to be huge for me. I'm happy for that. I mean, shout is our main build. That's what we run. Mighty mouth, mighty shouts. But I would like to see them maybe just juice it up just a touch more. I don't want it to be crazy, right? Because while a lot of people have been shitting on Jonathan and Mark, and even in my comment section, and some of the criticism is deserved, and I agree with a lot of the stuff they said. Like some of the stuff should be rolled back. They should maybe not force us into a particular playstyle based on their vision, because honestly, like the block and parry mechanics don't really work with how the game is now, which is why they're adjusting the mob speed or whatever. But I have to maybe not agree, but I can respect their vision, where they're coming from. Because without the lows of getting your ass handed to you and feeling utterly helpless, you'll never appreciate the highs. So there's like 80% of the game is just this like middle ground, right? And it's that 10% euphoria and the 10% of despair that you're going to remember the most. And right now it just feels like in the beginning we're in that 10% despair and we're headed into the meh. I think we give it a little bit and you're going to start getting into the upper part of that meh into the euphoria stage. You're going to get your first divine, you're going to be able to buy gear, you're going to feel good about yourself, whatever. I haven't hit that yet. I had to make some trades. I had to sell off all the divines that I had on standard in order to trade for like 50 exalts in this league. Didn't feel good doing that, but I just never got any currency. I finished the campaign with maybe 10 exalt drops and maybe a handful of regals and 2 alchemies, maybe 3 alchemies, and 7 artificer orbs in total. I dropped more lesser jeweler's orbs than I dropped any other currency, and that doesn't make, and I dropped a greater, and I sold that for 24 exalteds. So I mean, I don't know, maybe I was just on the unlucky side of the spectrum, and a divine is going to be waiting for me on like my first tier 15, or hopefully like my next map would be nice. But overall, I've enjoyed the state of the game for the most part as a warrior, because we've always been just okay. The passive tree still needs a ton of work. The node that you reduce your movement speed to get more life regen while you're standing still, that shit is dog shit. That does not even apply in this game. You don't want to reduce your movement speed just in order to heal more while you're stationary when you're never going to be able to stand still, because if you stand still you're dead. That to me just doesn't make sense. And to my surprise, Hammer of the Gods feels okay. not like especially good, but it feels okay in comparison to how I thought it was going to be absolutely unusable. But it's all right. It still works for all intents and purposes as a boss killer, so that's fine. Uh, I still wish there would be more ways to scale war cries. I just wish there were more things that you could do because you can't use any of the heralds because they're not attacks and the heralds require a martial weapon and you can't really use anything other than just increased damage. Like that's like the one thing that does anything for the shouts. So you just got to figure out how to get as much of that as possible. Now, maybe later on you'll you'll see within the passive tree they're going to change a bunch of stuff because as I've said in the past there's way too many downsides in the warriors section of the passive tree and it's weird, right? Because they say they want you to feel the increase, but they even said that it's basically diminishing returns on damage, right? From 0 to 100, you feel the most impact. After 100% increased damage, you feel less. So that 40% and 5% reduced attack speed, you're barely going to notice it because you get so little extra attack speed that any incremental increase to attack speed is going to be exponentially more DPS increase than a 10 or 15 or 20% increased damage is ever going to be. So you wouldn't exactly want to make the trade-off of getting more damage for less attack speed. You're essentially just getting the same damage. That's like an even trade. Here, you hit harder, but you hit less often. So damage per second equals slight positive. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Unless your whole build was just dropping Hammer of the Gods, then in which case you don't care about DPS so much as you just care about the overall damage per use. But seeing as you have to stun like 40 enemies before you can ever use it, you're probably not going to make a build like that. Um, Overall, kind of beginning to be more happy with the direction of the game. I was kind of a negative Nancy in the beginning. I didn't like the direction it was going. I think they were just doubling down on this is our vision, deal with it. And now I think they've done a little more playtesting and they've realized, oh shit, we really did make some clerical errors here. Like maybe we typed in the wrong values in the nerfs, or maybe we just didn't log in enough playtesting to realize that not everybody is a one percenter that is gonna like super sweat try hard in order to get to the end game. It, I mean, I'm fairly seasoned in this game. I've got like over 1,000 hours, and it took me days to beat the campaign. Now I do only play 4 or 5 hours a day, but nevertheless, yeah, it's neither here nor there. But that's about all I got. I'm hoping that more changes are to come. And if you guys agree or disagree, feel free to leave it in the comments. As always, you know what it is. Stay blessed. You are enough. And as always, stay mouthy, my friends. We'll see you.